Just turned on the record feature. I forgot, but
Oh, no worries.
I go down the page here.
Okay.
Okay, when they want average rate of change, they're asking for rise over run. That's
Okay.
what they're asking for is the slope. That's what slope is. And that's why they've spent so many years teaching you about slope, is because it's also fundamental to calculus. That's what calculus is all about, is slope.
Interesting. Okay.
The difference is that calculus is instantaneous rate of change, whereas everything that's pre-calculus is average rate of change. In other words, to get the average rate of change between A and B, take the rise, divide it by the run. What's the rise from A to B?
So it'd be x2 over x1 over y2 over y minus y.
Just count it. From A to B, how many do we have to go down? How many notches?
Or down 5 and then over 2.
It's 4. 1, 2, 3. No, maybe you're right. No, you're right. It is 5. So down 5. And to get from A to B, how far do I have to go horizontally?
Over 1.
Okay. And we can see that that slope is negative. In other words, if I draw a straight line between A and B, that's what they're asking for, is what's the slope of the straight line between A and B? Well, the slope is minus 5.
Yeah.
That's the average rate of change from A to B.
Okay.
Now let's look at from B to C.
All right, so you'd have to
rise, and actually we don't need to count. We can look at their coordinates here.
Yeah.
So how?
So it'd be
the vertical distance between B and C.
-4.
The horizontal distance?
2.
So the average rate of change is what?
-2.
Good. And then from C to D. Okay, what's the vertical?
Okay, from D to C, it would be
from C to D.
Or C to D,
my bad. The right direction, because that gives you the signs properly.
Okay.
What do you do to get from -9 to 0?
It'd be +9. So you'd add 9. And then it'd be over 4.
Subtract the x coordinates. 5 and 2.
Oh, 3, my bad. I miscounted, yeah.
Well, that's why we shouldn't really be counting. I made a mistake when I was counting the first time. I didn't realize they'd given us all the coordinates. If they give the coordinates, then you want to do it y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's positive, and you always want to check to make sure that slope is the sign you get. Okay.
Right.
It's easy to get the sign off. But if I look at a straight line that connects C to D, that's clearly a positive slope.
Okay.
And that's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at 45. Domain?
Alright. So the domain would be positive infinity to negative infinity.
The reverse. Always start on the left.
Did I say? Oh, yeah, my bad. So it'd be negative infinity to positive.
You want to go negative to positive. Or you could also just say all reals.
Right, all real numbers.
And that's always the answer for parabolas, is all reals. You know, you don't just remember that. Then whenever you're dealing with a parabola, the domain is always all reals. Which is infinity to positive infinity. What's the range?
It'd be 4 to negative infinity.
Good. How would I write it in interval notation?
You would do a bracket around 4, and then,
You said negative infinity.
Yeah.
Only thing I don't like about that is, it goes from up to down.
Yeah.
I would prefer going from down to up. Like,
Okay.
I don't know that it matters. You might get away with that and not lose any points on it. I'm not sure it
Maybe.
matters, but I tend to write my interval notation from left to right and bottom to top.
Okay.
If I'm writing an interval notation for the x-axis, it's going
Mhm.
to go left to right. If I'm writing it for the y-axis, it's going to go bottom to up.
Okay. Cool.
All right, completing the square. Let me just see if you've done it correct.
Yeah,
How'd
definitely.
that turn into an 8?
Where are we? Oh, how did that turn into 8? That's a good question.
Well, let's just do it from scratch here.
Yeah. I meant +1, not +8 on that one. I don't know. I don't know why I was thinking that, honestly.
I'm going to set that one over there,
Uh-huh.
off to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to complete the square by putting parentheses around the terms that have x in them,
Okay.
leaving space to complete the square,
Yep.
leaving the
+1
1 over
equals.
there. The key
Okay.
whenever you're completing the square is to make sure that you do not change the equation from step to step.
Yeah.
In other words, that line that I just wrote needs to be exactly the same as the top line.
Right.
Okay? Now, what do
Yeah.
I do inside the parentheses in order to complete the square? It's always
Yes.
always a plus first, one thing.
Yeah. So it'd be x in parentheses x minus 14. You take half of minus 14 and then square that.
Okay, what's that?
49.
Okay, so I just
So
added
you have to,
49 to the left side.
yeah, so you have to subtract 49
Right.
on the outside.
Well, on the same side.
Yeah, all right,
It
same side.
matters if this one is on the right side of the equation or the left side of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
If it's on the right side of the equation, then I'm going to add 49 to both sides.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
on the left, so I have to do the opposite to balance out the 49. In other
Yeah.
words, at this point, now how can I write what's inside the parentheses? That's the reason we complete the square.
Yeah. It'd be x minus 7 squared.
Minus 48 equals 0. And
Yeah. Then it'd
now
be
we've just put it into vertex format,
right.
what we did, but let's see, it says solve it. So
Yeah.
I don't want it in vertex format, I want to solve for x.
Yeah. So it'd be
Now
x
what's
minus.
the next
Yeah.
step?
Yeah. So it'd be x minus 7 squared is equal to 48.
Okay, next step.
And then we would square root both sides, so it'd be x minus 7 is equal to 48.
Got to square root the right side too.
Or root 48, yeah.
Well, and
Plus or minus root 48,
don't
yeah.
forget that plus or minus ever. Now,
Yeah, for sure.
root 48 actually reduces to what?
It does to root or 2 root 8.
First of all, the way you want to do these is
Cause, or
immediately
not, yeah.
factor it and then
6
write
times
2 square
12
root.
times. Yeah, so it'd be 2 root 12 because 12 times 4.
Okay, that's not a bad start. Unfortunately, that's not fully reduced either.
No. So it'd be 4 root 3.
Good,
Right? Yeah.
good. Notice we could have gotten there immediately had I noticed
Mm-hmm.
that 16 is a factor. In other words,
Oh, it.
yeah,
Oh.
in other words, it's
16 times
square
3,
root of
yeah.
16 times the square root of 3. 3 times 16 is 48.
Yeah.
And the 16 becomes 4.
Yeah.
So whenever you're reducing these radicals, the higher perfect square number you can find as a factor, the better off you are.
Mm-hmm.
You'll still solve it if you don't find it, just like you did. In other words, you found a 4 as a factor, so you pulled the 2 out, but then you were left with something that could still be simplified more.
Mm-hmm.
So you did it in 2 steps. You can do it in 1 step if you find the maximum perfect square. Not a big deal, but anytime you can save a step.
Yeah.
So now I have x minus 7 equals plus or minus 4 root 3. Now what?
Now, well,
Solving
what do we,
x.
plus 7
Uh-huh.
on each side?
And I'm going
Okay.
to write it right there.
Okay.
Why? Because that's the typical format you find when you do the quadratic formula.
Mm-hmm.
The answers always look something like that, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Some number plus or minus some radical.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when I give my answer, I'm going to give it with the real number there and the radical number over there.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
All right. Let's have a look at 47.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, the only thing you had going on here that was wrong was you got that 8 in there somehow.
Yeah, number 46.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I got that. That's my question. I guess I was thinking of, I don't know.
Oh,
What
I know
else?
how you got it. You took half of 14.7 and you added it to 1.
That might have been, yeah.
That's the only way I can imagine you'd get to 8. But
Yeah.
the problem is if you're checking such
Mm-hmm.
that every step of the way you don't want to change the equation, well, it's real clear you changed it.
Yeah.
This is
You know, I think what it was
left off the
I was,
square here.
yeah, I was watching a video on Khan Academy on how to solve these equations, and they
Uh,
had an 8 in there, so I guess I wrote it down
just,
instead of, yeah,
the key to doing them properly is to check every single line
for sure.
and just make sure you haven't changed it from the previous line.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do 47. We got just about enough time to do 47.
Yeah.
X squared plus 18x. Since we're going to solve it, I'm going to put the 6 on the other side of the equation.
Okay.
Okay? If I
Yeah.
was going to put it in vertex format, I would leave the 6 on the left side because that's what vertex format is. It has everything on one side. But
Right.
if I'm going to
Yeah.
solve it, I know I'm going to end up having to take the square root of both sides at some point, so I'm going to do it this way.
Okay.
Now,
Cool.
put parentheses around there.
Mm-hmm.
What do I add right there?
It'd be 81.
What do I do to the other side?
Subtract 81.
Uh-uh.
Plus 81.
If I'm adding
Oh,
81
on
to
the
the
other side.
left side, I got to add 81 to the right.
Yeah, my bad.
If I was
Yeah.
doing everything on the same side, then I would subtract 81.
Right, and if it's on the other
It
side,
really
yeah,
matters which side you're compensating for.
for sure.
Okay, how can I write this now?
So it'd be x plus 9 squared is equal to 75.
Next step.
Find the square root of both sides, so it'd be x plus 9 is equal to plus or minus 75.
Root 75.
Root 75, yeah.
That's twice that you've done that. In other
Yeah.
words, if you're going to take the square root of both sides, you got to take the square root of the right side.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
reduce square root 75.
So it'd be equals 5. So it'd be x is equal to minus 9.
Hold on, let's just
Oh,
reduce root 75 for starters.
yeah.
What you're looking for are factors of 75 where one of the factors is a perfect square. Well, what goes
Yeah.
into these kind of numbers?
5 and 15.
5 is not a perfect square. 15 is not a perfect square.
No.
But 25.
25 is, yeah.
25 is a perfect square number, and it goes into
Uh,
75 3 times.
yes. Yeah, so
So
it'd be
5
5 root 3.
3. Okay. So now we
Yeah.
got x plus 9 equals plus or minus 5 root 3.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the 9 over. There's your answer.
Perfect.
Now, notice that because we were solving for x, I want x on one side and numbers on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if we were trying to put this thing in vertex format, I would leave everything on the same side because that's what vertex format is.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
That's not bad, Dylan. You did pretty good on these.
Not at all. Yeah, I feel like I understood it pretty well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then do you think we could schedule an appointment for Sunday?
sure.
Like an hour appointment on Sunday?
You got a big test coming up?
Yep, on Monday.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on a second here. Let me pull up. I don't know how my calendar didn't. I guess I had booted. Let me pull my calendar up and put you in there. Uh,
Yeah, no worries. Would like
what,
5 o'clock work?
yeah, 5 o'clock for an hour.
Yeah,
I'll put you down.
that sounds good.
Okay.
Awesome.
Talk to you on Sunday.
Sounds good. Thank you, Scout.
All right, Dylan. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.